This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for March 7th, 2019. Q's down 1.2%, SPY 0.79. So let's recap what we were looking for today. Now, going into today, we were closing here near the lows yesterday. Okay, and then if we broke below Monday's low, because we kept saying Monday's low here, right? Underneath 276.84 there on the SPY, underneath 172.47 on the Qs. Look for the next sell setup to initiate a bearish bias. Okay, so we were neutral coming into today, and then if we break below this, the next setup can be shortable. So what does a sell setup look like? So we broke below right at the open, got a series of higher lows, and then the break of the higher lows, expect lower. Okay, so that's what we were looking for today. Got the follow through, so that gives us short-term bearish bias. Long-term, all right, is going to be the tricky part. All right, long-term now neutral because we're into support. All right, so now that we have the follow through on the hourly, right, but we're here at the lows, we're gonna have to wait for the next one for good timing for a short, but the short-term bias is bearish. Okay. So what would have to change in order for us to lose the bearish bias? Okay, on the Qs, that's going to be over 172.70. We'll go back to neutral on the short term. Okay, and that's going to be 276.30 on the SPY. Okay, so the daily now neutral, the short term bearish until or unless we in the hourly downtrend, which is we get over that sell setup. Okay, so pretty straightforward. I think we were well prepared for today, knew what to look for and how to initiate a bearish bias. Okay, so speaking of bearish bias, let's go over the plays from today. I thought the gap downs a little bit better than the gap ups. And we had a call here on the IGT. IGT, you can see after the first 6 minutes of the open, market opened 7:30 my time, had a call, so we actually put in the call here and it triggered here. Okay, under 1540, initially it was going to be 1580 as the stop, but once we started to consolidate here, right, the stop became 1570. Okay, that's 65, this is 66. So I just gave it a few cents because I think there was like 2 cents spread. I probably could have just tightened that up a little bit to 66 or something, but I gave it the little bit extra room just in case, you know, it needed it. And so we just played a 1 minute breakdown. Here was the gap down on the IGT. Now, what is the significance of this gap down, right? Is that we had an uptrend over the last few months and it was breaking the uptrend. Okay. So the numbers were 1540 by 1570. That means you're playing it with a 30-cent stop. We are looking for 1510 and 1470. Okay, and so where does the 1510 come from? That's the retracement of this bar, green bar here, and then the next low on the daily chart there. Okay, so those were the targets. You know, on something that's a $15 stock, and it might seem, you know, unreasonable sometimes to ask for 70 cents, right? That's almost 5% for it to move after you get in, right? But the reason that, you know, we're playing these is that we expect them to do more than their ATR. I think a lot of people use the ATR to kind of pick targets, but for what I'm looking for on the gap, on the day where it's getting big, right? Increase in volume. Today did 17.8 million, right? Yesterday did 2.2, so that's going to be more than 8 times, right, what it did yesterday, right? On these days, I expect the range to be much beyond the ATR. So, you know, even though it might seem like asking for, you know, another 4.5% down since we get in, you can see that it actually went as low as 1422. Even though we were looking for 1470. So we were already out of it by that time. We actually finished up once it got to our target. So it hit 1475, and I said, that's close enough, and let's take the rest. So we got to the first target and took some, and then got to the other target, and then we took some, and then I was not a part of any of this, but I guess you could have played it again. I know some people got back in to write it down here in the afternoon. So this was the call though, and we got the targets. So that was pretty straightforward on the IGT. Now I also want to go over this BURL. I did not call this one. I just gave it to the room before lunch. It's a little bit spready. I let it go. I didn't play it either. But what I just want to point your attention to was that we have a similar gap here on the BURL. Okay, now you remember the IGT ending the uptrend over the last few months. Look at this BURL ending the uptrend over the last months and years even. So this BURL leaving behind this big top here, breaking the uptrend that it's had on the weekly here. See this? Really, for quite a long time, it's been in this uptrend and now damaging, right, the support, breaking through the support. So this was just a 5-minute breakdown here going into lunch. Now there was 20 cents spread at times. I think that was the challenge. It would have been a big stop as well underneath the lows, 144.60 by 148. So pretty big stop. I think the tightest one I saw was like $1.50 stop. Yeah, if you use like 147 as the stop, then you could have used a little bit tighter stop. But nice breakdown there, nice weakness on the BURL as we were going into lunch there. So very powerful gap downs, I thought, was what we got today. So nice moves. IGT worked pretty well. I'm glad some people replayed it in the afternoon as well. But I thought the morning play kind of worked just as we wanted to. I'm sure the market being weak this morning helped to get this going and make it a pretty painless trade. So that IGT ended up being pretty good there. So it's pretty big. I probably don't need this take up so much space, but yeah, so you get the picture. Just stop and the entry, the stop, right, and the targets all outlined for you there, pretty straightforward. So just knowing what to focus on. I think it'll be in a way easier over the next few weeks to know what to focus on. There's less earnings names and going to be less gappers. So while there will be less trades, it'll also be easier to know what to focus on, I think. Okay, so that, I guess that's kind of the good side of moving out of earnings season, is that it's a little bit easier to know what to focus on. All right. So that's going to be it for today's market wrap. Hopefully you did well today. If not, just took it easy. I didn't think there was all that many good opportunities today. I think probably a lot of things followed through as the market was in a downtrend today. So probably a lot of the shorts gave some follow through. I thought longs were pretty tough. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. Just keep in mind we are short-term bearish, long-term neutral now. Okay, not good timing to initiate shorts, but if we get either like a retest in here or we base and then we break down, that should give us more juice to the downside. Okay, all right, so hope you did well today. If not, we'll be back at it tomorrow to close out the week. Hope you have a good evening.